Hold on, you'll hear it.
Welcome to Coffee with Kay. I'm Mike McQuillan. With me is Karina and Frances Holosko, one of the most creative people I know. She is a playwright, a graphic design artist, a literary publisher, and now editor of the forthcoming COVID Rebels 21 Poets Anthology. Hi there, Kay.
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you today.
My pleasure. And welcome to you at home or wherever you happen to be. Thanks for joining us. Kay, what drives you in these several directions, any one of which would be more than most people undertake?
I'm not quite sure. My dad used to call it a jack of all trades. And I think I had an eagerness to please my mother. I did not have a mother who really wanted me. And so I would get very good at one thing, as good as I could, and it wasn't enough. So I got very good at another thing, and it wasn't good enough. And so I would keep trying to get good at things. And in the end, ironically, she did me a favor because now I'm good at a lot of things.
You are indeed. And you have not lost either the creativity or the ability in any one of these separate areas. I've heard you read from your own play scripts, and I've seen your graphic design artistry. How do you maintain excellence in so many areas at once? And how do you navigate going back and forth among them?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with self-discipline. I was a classical pianist for many, many years. And so every day since I was like 4 or 5 years old, I would go down in the basement, trudge into the basement, and practice my piano for an hour and a half. And I did that for years and years until I got a Royal Conservatory degree, a 9, 10 is the highest. And then I taught piano for many years. And I was also a swimming lifeguard. So I had a lot of things that required a lot of discipline. And so I'm able to apply myself. And if I don't know something, I learn it. I learned all my web design, for example, from Wix, just by watching their videos.
And how did you navigate the transition to where writing and other literary pursuits like editing and the different genres of writing become your priority?
Well, my first poem I wrote was called Bean Sprouts and Squash. It was a comedy, a funny poem. So my roots are in comedy, which you will see by the poem I will read today. And I won the poetry prize of Acorn. And I was 8 years old. I got this really fancy magazine called Acorn. And that gave me a little push that I was okay. And from then on, I read Hemingway at like 14 years old, couldn't understand a word, but I still read Hemingway and become an avid reader. My bookshelf was full of books that my father would buy me from these book clubs. And my father's idea of fun, of encouragement was to buy his daughter whatever he wanted as long as it was books. So I would buy books upon books upon books. Then I went on to went into journalism school. Unfortunately, they didn't want me because I have a little dyslexia and I would have made a horrible editor, so they were right. And then I did an MA in English literature. And after the MA, I went into fine art. I went into galleries. I build artist portfolios from all over the world and became a sculptor and a writer, of course, in marketing and publicity and all the things that go with creating art shows.
So all of a sudden, I guess your use of the word artistry is infusing my imagination. I'm imagining a giant vat and some sort of giant alphabet soup brewing up. I'm thinking of all of these influences, your music, your graphics, and your journalism and your own creativity going into this soup, and out of it comes your writing, your editing. Wow. So let me ask you, from any of those perspectives, what makes good writing?
Oh, geez, what makes good writing? Well, you always hear that the old adage, you have to write about yourself, write about what you know. I go quite the opposite. I believe you should write about what you don't know. I believe you should learn something. I believe you should embody characters that you know nothing about. I believe you should challenge yourself in different genres. Poetry is quite different. Poetry is an intimate and personal thing. But if you're going to write a novel, I mean, most people aren't really that interesting, but the imagination certainly is. And you can create worlds and characters and people that never existed before. And creatures, I love to create creatures in my book, Zon and the Kundalini serpent.
So what is one memorable creature you're particularly fond of from your own writing, or
Okay.
whom you think would resonate with the viewer?
Well, I like the Kundalini dragon because the Kundalini dragon is an imaginary creature and he has 2 wasps on his head. And of course, he has chakras and his chakra colors all light up his body whenever he's in good stead. And he's magical because he can go up to people. And if your chakra's off, then his will dim. And you can look at the Kundalini dragon, you can say, oh my goodness, my blue chakra's in need of attention. And then it would light up once you find the right key to unlock. So his name is Widget, and he is in my book, Willie Zahn and the Kundalini dragon, excuse me.
And how would one acquire that book if one wanted to?
Oh,
become
that
more
book is going to
acquainted
be,
with you and with the Kundalini dragon?
okay, first of all, I have a website called ancientmodern.net, and that is a book of activity book where kids can make spells, but they're not spells where you know the old English where you have to get a wing of a bat or this and that. My spells are vegan, and I wanted to make spells that anyone can do, that everyone can do, really, because anyone can change the world. So we use cooking stuff, everything you have in your house, and we make the Karuna love potion, and we make the put down your phone spell, and we make the good deed spell. And you do activities. What you'll do, an example is you'll take a piece of a lemon, put it on the counter, put your hands on your head, do 3 squats, and then say some magic words. And then you'll have another activity. You'll go in the bathroom, put a penny under your bed, pat your belly, rub your head 3 times, turn around 4 times. You'll say some magic words, and you can activate the spell.
Well, I'm an old man, but as I listen to your spellbinding tale, I feel the child within me coming
Yeah.
alive. I can hardly wait to go to your website.
Yeah.
So let's update now. Let's talk about present or recent times.
Okay.
You write about remarkable, distinctive characters, and now you placed yourself among a bunch of remarkable, distinctive
I
characters.
sure did.
In a Thursday night open mic reading group. Tell us how you came to be a member of that group and what that's been like for you as a writer before we talk about the anthology.
Okay, when I was living in New York, I became a member of the National Writers Union. New York, for me, was a very stressful place. And so the idea, rent, that's all I could think of. So I really couldn't enjoy anything in the city. So by the time I left New York to come to Florida, I got this wonderful email from Alex saying there was an open mic night. And I said, oh my God, I can join something from New York and talk to my people who are interesting and who I miss. And so I joined. That was that simple. No magic involved. And it was COVID. Unfortunately, it was COVID. And it was a very dark time. And I was so happy to see this beautiful email that just brightened my world up. And I must go. And we were all on Zoom, and it was all very dark and scary. And I was terrified that I was going to die and people I love were going to die. And so just being around you, my motley crew, warmed my heart and my spirit, and I was able to forget my fear.
And the motley crew, of which I'm proud to be part, has been together on a weekly basis for more than a year, closer to a year and a half, I imagine. But now relationships are changing. It's one thing to be part of a collective, but it's another thing to be among individuals, particularly individual writers. I know I feel very protective of my own writing because of the arduous process of producing it. How does one change? How have you worked to take us as individuals, the 8 of us who are going to be in this anthology, and helped to shape a collective identity, which I do believe now exists among us as the COVID Rebels 21 poets.
Well, sometimes I don't really like to use the word vision because it seems like it's religious, and I do not have some kind of dialogue with God that nobody else has. But it is in colloquial terms. I get this vision, I get the snapshot in my head, and I see something, and then I'm guided to do that. And as I work on the project, one step at a time, things start to come together, and I just kind of trust my senses and trust what I believe is God leading me. And with the COVID Rebels, I wanted to create I wanted to make a rock and roll anthology. They're so boring, and they're so limited to academia, and they're so restrictive, and only the people from the MA programs can participate. And poets don't live in MA programs. That's not where they live. Poets have lives, and poets have pain, and poets have struggle. And that's where I found my poetry nest, in the New York Writers Union, of which you are a part. That's where they really live. And so I thought that it was such a privilege and something so rare that it must be documented. And so I tried to make everybody a character, everybody like an individual hero, like a comic book character. And that's what I wanted to create, so that we can get a following, and we can get read, and we're exciting, interesting people. And we're superheroes. I wanted to make us superheroes because I think we are. And I think you are.
And as we reach the crest of the production process on the eve of the actual publication of this masterwork, let's give the viewer some appetizers. Can you describe a little bit as to why someone should click into the ebook or turn the cover of the front cover of the paperback book when it appears?
Okay, that's a great question, and I have a great answer because it's good. Because it's
I knew
inspired.
You would have a great answer.
It's inspired, it's exciting, and I always believe I am partial to the journey because ends are so predictable. Endings are so predictable, they end. And if you enjoy a journey, this is the book you're going to enjoy, because you're going to see people on a journey to somewhere. And that capturing part of the journey is, I believe, the beauty of life, the challenge. And that's what I tried to, that's why this is a book that should be read and enjoyed, and could be read and enjoyed, and will be read and enjoyed. And the characters, you guys are so interesting. You know, I've got people who struggled from cancer, and I've got people who struggled from child abuse, and I've got people myself, sexual abuse for many, many, many years. And so all of us are survivors of some kind. In fact, everybody has some. And I wanted to make it relatable so that people could come to whoever they felt close to and become a fan.
And this is a time, certainly in our city, in our nation, in the world, in fact, where there are so many instances of chaos, from COVID to war to political partisanship and the aftermath of the insurrection, that the idea of empathy coming out of this journey really speaks loudly to all of us. Where can someone acquire this? How would one buy it, either in ebook form or in paperback form when it actually?
Well, you can go to Amazon. You can write in COVID Rebels, and up that should come, or you can put in my name, Karina Holosko, Holosko, and up will come some of my other books as well. And what I really want to say too, Mike, is that this is not a book about COVID. This is a book about writing during and before COVID. These aren't stories of, you know, people dying and of the fears. This was meant to rebel against that darkness and that pain, and bring some joy and some other personal pain, but away from the COVID, to show that writers and poets are very important in these dark times, and we can transport people to other places, away from themselves and away from their present pain.
Joining hands in a literary sense and transcending the isolation that so many have experienced. Exactly. Beautiful. What is there a takeaway you would hope someone would have after finishing it? Either something to learn, or a way to feel, or an action to take?
Did you hear that thunder?
I did.
Okay. All right.
There's a seminal moment.
Answer that question, Mike.
You move heaven and earth.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be your own private, personal journey. And what I want people to do is love you and love us and follow our careers and come with us on a journey. And it's okay, because we're safe and we're loving and we're kind.
We are indeed. And in that realm, you have something you'd like to read for us, I believe.
I do. I have a poem here. It's called The Writer and the Agent. It was actually taken from one of my plays about a writer and an agent. Agent, dear writer, please give me a moment to say, help me, dear writer, you're so far away. My castle has crumbled, my court's disappeared, my money does dwindle, I'm finally all ears. Writer, oh agent, poor as you are, I no longer want you, you're like an old car. You take too much gas and blow too much smoke, you laugh at the writers you thought were a joke. Agent, dear writer, I ask you to say, the contracts I have are an email away. Just give me that plot line, that book put away, I'll send you the contract, please sign it today. Writer, my agent's so sad, the tables have turned. The writer I am, the writer you spurned. So give me a moment, a second today to pray for the writers that you sent away. But if you work hard and wait patiently by, I'll send you an email and kiss you goodbye.
Wonderful. So nice to hear you read after being familiar with all of your editing work.
Oh, thank you very, very much. I consider myself an animal activist poet. So I do try to channel the pain that animals suffer. I've had quite success at it. It's been, some of the experiences have, caused me weeks of trauma, some of them years. But this is a poem about the vaquita porpoise, and they went extinct in 2019, and there was a day where they were announced as extinct. And so I wrote a little poem. Actually, it's a little prayer for the little porpoise.
Please.
Little vaquita, our planet is a worse place because we failed to protect you, love you, and find enough value in your life spirit to go the extra mile. We did not tend the garden that God entrusted in us because we are more interested in living in Mars, in the darkness and cold. A place we destroyed, a place where little creatures like you could never dance and play. We should be ashamed, but many are not. We should care, but many cannot. And we should honor you as an indispensable part of the web of life in which each living thing works together to honor the life cycle of this garden we were tasked to tend. Many do not understand. Your flesh is too yummy and only worth the stomach acid and used to break you down and defecate you away. Our bodies are not temples as long as your blood and the blood of all living creatures runs through us. What temple was built on slaughter, blood, pain, and torture? Talk about temples. What temple dared to be built this way? Ours. May the grace of God wrap you in clean waters and protect you from man's suffocating nets, which you will know no more, just as we shall know you no more. Shame on us, forever and ever. Amen. Oh.
Amen. Well, that
This is freaking me out.
That thunder shows you've moved to higher power.
Yes,
And,
yes.
And you've certainly moved me, and I dare say the viewer at home. COVID Rebels 21 Poets Anthology due out very soon. Karina and Francis Holosko, thank you so much.
I'm sorry, Mike, one thing I'd like to read, and it's not mine, it's Corinthians. It's about love. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
And to you at home, thanks so much for listening.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Kay. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.